Good morning. Today's lesson is the third one on ecology about recycling materials. And we're going to talk about recycling using, again, materials that are essential for the building blocks of future organisms. Two cycles that are particularly important for living organisms are the carbon cycle. This is carbon is present in all living organisms. And when organisms die, the carbon is recycled so it can be used by the future generations. And the other important cycle we need to know about is the water cycle. This cycle describes how water moves on above or just below the surface of our planet between different locations such as rivers, oceans, and the atmosphere. So if we start looking at the carbon cycle, carbon is removed from the atmosphere by producers like algae or plants, who use it in photosynthesis to make glucose. By consuming plant matter, animals obtain carbon compounds. Carbon is returned into the atmosphere as carbon dioxide because of the respiration that happens in plants and animal cells. Combustion of fossil fuels is another source of carbon entry into the atmosphere. When animals and plants die, decomposers return the carbon locked in their bodies back to the atmosphere via decay. Decomposers secrete enzymes to start decay. The water cycle begins when water evaporates from the Earth's surface before rising up into the atmosphere. Once in the atmosphere, the water vapor cools and condenses into either rain or snow. This eventually returns to the Earth's surface. The rain or snow will either become surface runoff, water flowing off the land, or will travel through the earth as groundwater. Plants take up water through their roots. Two new words that we need to know about: correlation and causation. So correlation is a relationship or connection between things. For example, there is a correlation between the use of artificial fertilizers and a decrease in trout population size. Causation is when a change in one factor is the reason for a change in another factor. It's much more difficult to demonstrate than correlation. Just because things are correlated does not mean that there is a causal link. There could be a number of other factors that need to be considered. For example, the decrease in trout population could be due to something like overfishing rather than the waterway being close to the farm that uses a lot of artificial fertilizer. So a correlation can suggest a link between two factors, but it does not prove that a change in one factor causes the change in the other. Correlation does not mean cause. If we want to make sure that our data is more reliable, then we can increase our sample size. More data will lead to more convincing trends and more reliable results. You should also try and include a control experiment. If you design a control which might show that declining trout populations were not caused by other factors such as fishing, temperature changes, and other things. So you need to create an experiment that proves the opposite of what you are trying to prove. Have a good day. Some questions on Seneca for you today to work through. Try and get all your scores as high as you can today.